Yeah, we were talking about me wanting to get out there and like 3 and a 1 year old maybe being, I don't know, too young, but we
Yeah.
it's to the point now with, I mean, I'm in Pennsylvania. I mean, you're not too far away. The weather, it's like 50s, 60s, um, especially if it's like an outdoor one. I would love to get out to an event like that.
Yeah, the one we went to was in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and it was great. It was indoor, it was in an arena. But you know what? I saw last night. I was with the family, and we were watching Making Fun on Netflix, and I
Making
instantly,
fun.
yeah,
What
instantly
what
thought
is
of you,
what's any if a title like making fun?
dude.
I have no idea
It's
what it's
awesome,
about.
man. I really
It's like it could
enjoyed
be
it.
anything.
And yeah, I really enjoyed it, and my kids were jumping up and down. They
Well,
were into it.
what's it about?
It's this retired toy designer upstate New York, and he's got like this shop with some equipment and stuff, and this team of guys, and they take orders from kids, uh, you know, through a video message, and they're like, build us a unicorn, build us this, and we want the unicorn to fart glitter, and
No way.
and so these guys have to build like these giant I mean, it's throwaway stuff at the end of the day. It's not like they're selling it or doing anything with it. It's just fun, dude. So they're just like focused on making and doing fun stuff for these kids. Like they had a giant dinosaur they made out of foam and plywood, and it shot tacos out of its mouth, dude. On a conveyor belt, right? And these
So
guys
was
are
that,
like, they're
dude,
having a blast.
was that the request though, or was that sort
Yeah,
of
that was a
I mean,
request. That's how the show's set up. And I
okay,
mean,
so it's the idea is like I'm a kid. We were all kids at some point. Some of us still feel like we are in a lot of ways, especially if you have kids. Um, you're a kid, and then you make a request. Is it sort of the idea that you're making the craziest request you could think of? Like, is it just
right,
weird stuff?
right. It's really far out stuff, man. And the kids call in and request these strange contraptions, and then the team actually builds them. And it was just cool because my kids were seeing people use equipment like I do. They had CNCs and they had stuff like that. They had welders going, and it's just like it's got potential to really start something, open the eyes up for kids to see like, hey, I could make this stuff. So
Dude, I gotta
it was
watch
awesome.
that.
It was on Netflix, and I only saw a couple episodes of it, but it was pretty cool, man. My kids were jacked for it, big time. Yeah.
That sounds super interesting. I mean, so it's both of my kids. I've told you before. Like I have a 3 and a 1 year old, and like we have books about like children's books about different degrees of technology, and they have toys, of course, they can play with. They're starting to play with monster trucks. I have a boy and a girl. They both genuinely like monster trucks and cars. Which is pretty cool. They even play with them. Like the one will take the car and like zoom it over to the other one. They'll send it back. But yeah, like stuff like that. Whenever the TV's on, just like any kid with a screen these days, like they'll sort of naturally like just sucked into it. So you have to be careful.
Right.
Have to be careful of that with what's on the screen. But like they like basketball. Like I'm a big basketball fan.
Okay.
So they'll watch that. But yeah, something like making fun, the way you describe it, is I think something that I want to try to get them into, because it sounds accessible, it sounds fun, and it's
Yeah.
like real, like you're saying, it's like real stuff.
Yeah, and it wasn't like like the show I was on was like basically called Making Drama. There wasn't drama. These guys are having a blast just like putting stuff together. And at the end of the day, it's not for a client. The client is the kids that are requesting the strange contraption. Anyways, check it out. I recommend it. But yeah, so
Absolutely.
I woke up this morning and I thought I was getting a sore throat. And I'm like, oh no.
No, no.
What's
Live
going
design,
on?
what are you gonna do?
And I'm like, oh, holy cow. And then I realized that my throat's just sore from screaming at my kids to eat their lasagna last night. So I'm good. But we got a house full of kids, and sometimes it gets out of hand, and I know they like their mom's lasagna. So
Yeah.
I think
Right.
they just like to put me through the ropes here and there.
Occupational hazards, man.
Yeah.
Well, dude, we're here. You made it. You made it to Live Design. We all made it to the first episode of Live Design here in 2022. My name is Sean O'Neill, and I'm joined by Mr. Jason Pohl. Jason, how's it going, man?
Oh, good, man. Good. It's good to be here. Love Solidworks Live Design. So let's do it.
We're doing some new stuff this year too. I think I was telling you about it. You know, this stream is, you know, it's probably the most informal stream we have. But you know, even so, we're trying to keep that vibe, but we're also trying to transform it. You know, we're Solidworks. We're always trying to do new things and keep the fun going on. Speaking of, if you guys are here, welcome. First of all, make sure to say hello in the live chat. Tell us what you're watching on Netflix, like Jason was telling us. But we are definitely trying to do some new things this year. Particularly, you know, every year we've done live design. Past 2 years, we have had members of the SolidWorks team, members of the Dassault Systems team come on and show you, you know, something they made. Maybe it was a standing desk, or you know, maybe they're remodeling their house. In this case, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make this as an approachable space as it's been in the past. We're trying to make it even more approachable, more communal. So every other episode of Live Design, we're trying to have a community member, one of you guys on, to show us something, to show each other something, which I am super jazzed about. We'll talk about like the next episode that's coming up later with Yaya Cater next week, next Friday, doing SolidWorks animations. But man, I am super excited about that. Like Jason, just getting our actual users on like every other episode. I think it's going to be a blast.
Yeah, Sean, that's what it's all about. And I mean, throughout my career, that's how I learned. You know, is from working with people and other people and seeing how other people do things. So I think it is super valuable. And you know what? Community is basically everything, you know, so strength in numbers. Okay.
Yeah, man. Right. I mean, speaking of learning and like, you know, just having a cool and accessible time while we're on live design, like I think this might be one of the coolest designs, I'll say. You know, we're a little biased, but one of the coolest designs we've had on live design. What is this? What are we looking at? Why did you create this?
Okay, so we created this to try to impress our kids, okay? And yeah. This you know, my kids, I got 3 boys and 1 girl, and my 3 boys, they love monster trucks. Okay, so this is the OG, right? This is Bigfoot from like the 80s, you know, one of the first monster trucks. And
yeah, we have that one.
I remember thinking, you know, like, hey, how cool would it be to just kind of pop the top on this and do a new body in xShape, because xShape you're able to model so quickly and something organic and something you really want to make. So Sean and I set out and made this right here. So this is it's a bit of a different, like if you think of the usual live design structure that we've had, like we have the main designer, you know, the person that's showing off like all the cool stuff that they've done with a project here, project there from 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, 2 years ago. And then you usually have the host who genuinely has no idea what happened. And it's just like, you know, us in the audience, we're just talking over this project. I can say, I mean, this project, you know, like you mentioned, I had a little bit of a hand in it. Like I designed the chassis, but there's a lot of, like, you guys know, like in the chat, like from working together, there's a lot of cases where even if you're working with someone else, you don't know exactly what they did. Like in this case, Jason did this. Jason did like the swoopy part, the cool part up top. Like he did the body. You know, you showed the Bigfoot monster truck. We kind of worked backwards from, but yeah, like we basically worked to replace it. So in that sense, I am getting familiar with you guys in terms of a lot of Jason's workflow. So I'm excited to ask you some questions. And yeah, like we both have, like we mentioned, kind of even leading in, like we both have kids that are young and they both like monster trucks, and being able to kind of be like you guys with kids or special kiddos in your lives know, if you can do something cool and kind of bring what you do from work a little bit into your kids' lives and be like, look what I did. Like this isn't like
that dad actually does some cool stuff sometimes. That's always a great feeling.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to combine the two, and I thought, why not showcase the power of, you know, some new software too. So Sean, you did the assembly. You know, I modeled the tires and the rims, and you did the chassis and the motor, and put everything together. You know, assemblies aren't my strongest point, you know, skill that I have, but Sean put this together, and I think it's pretty cool. So let's show a little bit like the process. Is that good? Can we do that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's interesting just looking at this. Like, obviously, you know, we can the wheels are sick. You did those. I mean, the chassis, which I think is funny. You have them as imported bodies, I guess, because I mean, it's funny. Like every time you like, I had the Bigfoot chassis. I was trying to just like remodel it and bring it into CAD so Jason could kind of use it for scale and we could render it, which maybe we could look at that later. But yeah, it was funny. Like I was trying to get like super detailed every little angle, like using different planes and everything. But yeah, like you said, Jason, you have a super swoopy shape up top, looks like a sub D shape. Maybe we can look at that. And then the rest of it, you know, could have very well designed in SolidWorks, which I can tell you I did. But yeah, let's okay. So you're pulling up xShape. Let's look at some of this.
So yeah, this is the xShape model.
Cleaner feature tree.
Yeah, exactly. It's all there, you know, and it's pretty straightforward. But yeah, I was able to come in here and, you know, manipulate these surfaces and pull these points down and pull the edges down if I wanted to. I did a crease around here, this purple line that creeps all the way around. I creased that so it was like a sharp drop off point, you know, on the body. But yeah, I mean, that was pretty much how that started, was with like, I think I used a box, right? So jumped into there and used a box. But what I found is it was xShape's really intuitive to what you need. It's like once you're in the modeling process, things just kind of jump up and you have your main features that you use right here in the center, and you can just toggle between them real quick. And I felt like it was an extension of me, you know? And when I first started using it, I was like, oh no, this is something new. And I think a lot of people have that fear associated with anything new, you know, sometimes. So, but what I witnessed is all my modeling throughout the years translated seamlessly right into this new software, xShape. And I was able to, you know, model quickly, you know, as soon as I opened it up.
I remember the first time, yeah, I mean, I have two firsts to share. I mean, the first time I tried to do anything extensive within SolidWorks using surface modeling, and this is probably, I guess it was sometime in school or shortly thereafter, like right after graduating. But yeah, that in itself is intimidating. Like it's like it's like entering into a different world. You know, right. This idea that you have to, it's like trying to study on how do I make, you know, one face at a time, or just try to almost sculpt something with these tools that are looking for me to be very ultra specific with like a parametric model or like SolidWorks on how I do that. And I remember the first time I looked at sub-D modeling, I remember thinking like, is this like a solid body? Is this just a big surface? Like, what am I actually doing? So right. it's kind of funny, but yeah, I got, I'm just looking at the chat and absolutely, again, this is meant to be a communal experience. You guys in the live chat, you're here. It is Friday. You showed up for the live chat. Yeah. Like ask questions. So Ricardo asked a good one, which I'm curious to hear about. Cause again, I didn't do this. You did. How long did it take to model in xShape? How long did this take to model?
You know, I didn't set a clock. I would say probably, you know, there wasn't a timer, but there was probably a couple of attempts, you know, and it's like, you know, in xShape, you're able to model so quick that instead of holding on to that same model and just keep hammering it until you get what you want, sometimes you just, you know, like when you draw something, you turn the page, man, start new, you know? And so there was a couple of times where it was like, you know what, zap this file onto a new one. Let's start with a sphere, maybe. Let's start with a square. And then you just keep pushing and pulling. But I mean, I would like to think like a couple hours at the most, you know. And
That's a
I
good
know,
point.
like, yeah,
That is a really good point because sometimes I think in any sort of, I don't know, like even thinking about other forms of solid modeling, even outside of that, like if I'm doing any, like if I'm coding something, sometimes it's I have an original strategy, original concept for how I'm going to go about something. And I'm like, all right, I'm a few steps down the road. This isn't going well. Instead of just like continuing, I think I've learned some things. I'm just going to scrap it. I'm just going to get rid of it. And eventually you get to where you want to go. But I mean, that said, like it's interesting. There can be different answers to that question too. You ask like, how long does it take to model an xShape? Well,
sure.
different people, right? It's like you're exploring different concepts. You might scrap a few. You might come back to it later. That I certainly do that. Like I'll model something and I'm like I'm not in the right headspace to continue right now, so I'll just scrap it, shut it down, come back. But Jason, we're on live design.
Yeah.
Like
So like, yeah,
we could we could even show people how to do it, how you might go about it live.
yeah, we could do that. We could model up this head here. Maybe I could do it faster than an hour, you know. I could probably do it in 15 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe.
That's the thing. It's like that you can.
But
You
like,
surely can, and it's I think watching programming, like watching live design and getting these tips, I think is where you can get those strategies. So that like when you open up tools like xShape or Solidworks or whatever you're using, like you're like, oh, okay, I have a better idea of how I might do this.
sure. So you know what? One thing that I did want to say is when I would model something that was complex and organic like this before, I would have to force myself to think surface loft, 3D splines, curves, guide curves, and all this. I'd envision like this wireframe that I'd have to, drape these surface sheets over, like kind of building
Right.
a tent or something, And
All the different
now
profiles.
with xShape, it's like a different game, I don't have to like really plan out all those points and edges
Yeah.
to make these surface lofts. So it brings in speed and concept modeling that I never really thought possible. So the first thing I do is I start with a box, go to the side view of this chair, and then I'm just going to turn on symmetry because we're making a symmetrical part, right? So bam. And then I'm just going to try to model this as quick as I can. Let's see here. But yeah, this is
Which even looking at this, like it's already like we talked, we talk so often whenever we talk about surfacing that you're trying to make sure that there's curvature continuity, but like you can see even as you're going, you're starting off with a very rounded box, and then you're pulling at edges, pulling at faces, and
guess what?
like how are you
doesn't
even
look like a box anymore?
How are you like one question I have for you, and again, you guys, any of your questions, put them in the chat as we go. Like we are actively monitoring for questions. Is how are you picking what to do first? Like okay, so like you put in a box, I'm assuming because it's because you kind of see the intended body as that being like a more rectangular shape. So I'm guessing that's kind of how you chose the box primitive to start with. You could have picked a sphere. You could have picked like is it difficult at times to pick like an initial what we call a primitive, or like how do you think about that?
There are no rules, Sean. Okay, the first rule is
there are no
rules. Okay, and that's what's great about you just jump in the deep end and see if you can swim or sink. And you got to take risks and just kind of go for it. But like I'm just slanging putty here, man. There's no dimensions right now. I'm gonna worry about that later. I'm gonna make something cool first, and then I'm gonna play engineer and come in and scale and do the fun stuff. But right now I'm just slapping it in there, just getting after it.
And if you think about making this sort of shape in like a parametric modeler, I mean, you're doing this. It's been a couple minutes. It's pretty difficult.
Should I go
Like,
faster?
no, don't go faster.
I'm gonna pick up the speed here.
No.
Let's get after it. So yeah,
Eric Beatty said if you've ever played with Play-Doh as a kid or an adult, good point. I certainly have played with Play-Doh as an adult, Eric. Then
sure.
you've had sufficient training to use xShape. Yeah, it's I like how you said it. There are no rules.
Yeah, and it's like I got a problem here. You know, I can't have a surface cutting into a surface. Like that's just not good for business. You know,
It's not good for business.
So I'm gonna drag this back. You know, and just kind of go for it. You know.
So another question: how many faces do you start with? Which shape? I think I mean, Jason, what are your thoughts on this? I have a couple of thoughts too.
I just start with what's in front of me. If I know it's going to be super complex, my trick is start with less, add more later. You know,
Yeah.
Just do a quick sock model of it, and just bam, and see what happens from there, and then go in and start.
You have so many terms that you just pull out that I don't think you.
Oh my God! Do you not know what a sock model? Did I make that? Dude,
but you told me what a sock model was. You told me what a sock model was once, but like I'm just being mindful of the fact that other people are watching this.
Oh no!
Can you tell people what a sock model is?
I might have,
so everyone can be enlightened on what this is.
I just had that aha moment that I might have made that up in my sleep one night and like just assumed the rest of the world knows what a sock model is. A sock model is in my sick twisted head is just like a quick slap it together type of model, see what you get, and just really working on proportions and not really worrying about what it's going to look like, I'm not trying to impress anyone. Just go for it and see what I get. A lot of times it might not have the right dimensions, it's just a concept and you're okay to throw away a sock model, because you just socked it in there. There's not really a lot of time involved.
Before we get more into that, and I do want to get more into that. So these eyes, I mean, I was when you showed, I mean, so I mentioned before I had seen this model and you completed it, you made it, you actually 3D printed it. We can show it later. Yeah, like so I saw it with the actual eye. You first, I think you did this thing where you sort of protruded it out and then you sort of sunk it back in.
Yes, because eye sockets are always sunk back in unless you're like some weird fish somewhere.
Different type of creature.
Yeah. But like these beast creatures, this is what they look like, And that's the great thing.
It's like the more you mess with its eye area and sort of like point it down, it's more harrowing. It's more menacing. I think that's super fun. You can't do that in a parametric CAD package. Like you can't this easily change the meanness of a creature like this, or change how a design feels, like you're doing here. I think that's pretty cool.
Exactly. I totally get your point. It's like you can just take it and scale the whole thing, non-uniform in the Z if you want. If I need it a little flatter, I can just scale it right here and tuck it down. But one thing I do want to, I still have some box issues here. It still looks like a box, from bird's eye view. So I'm just going to tuck this in and it kind of rounds it out. And look at those. Look at those sub-Ds, man. They're just kicking ass all over the place, man. They're helping me. They're helping me here, right? You know what I mean? It's like,
well, it's interesting. There's so many interesting things about what you're doing. I mean, scaling non-uniform in different directions is interesting in itself. Another thing I was thinking about, again, not really seeing this aspect of it when we worked on this project together, is how you probably were able to use that. Like I noticed you weren't really interested so much in scale to begin with, and obviously we mentioned you 3D printed this eventually. We could show that stuff later, but you 3D printed it, and you have to make it so that you could mount it to that Bigfoot monster truck. But you haven't really been concerned about that, I noticed. Like you're just sort of modeling.
Yeah, just kind of going for it.
Getting a shape, yeah.
Seeing where we're at, and just kind of taking a minute to step back. And I'm looking at the big picture, like I'm not worried about his teeth yet or any super finite elements. I'm just kind of sock modeling the stuff
Sock
in
modeling.
there, socking it away. And another thing is like to get this snarl going, like it's not just push and pull, you can rotate too. So watch what happens when I'm just going to select this surface and I'm going to rotate it just down a little bit. See, we're getting a little bit more life in there, and like grab this and pull it down and it creates that little crease. And, the look is like a Baja trophy truck, you know what I mean, type thing.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's low, it's angry, and it just wants to rip, right? Because we got to impress all of our kids in the sandbox with this thing. So
yeah, we don't want a wimpy looking monster truck. No one wants that.
Man. We want something that's got a bite to it, a real snarl to it. So that's what that is. And
it's like Titan goes. I always like when Titan from Titan to CNC, when he goes on his videos, he goes, like I feel like that's the sound this monster truck makes. He goes,
Dude, the Titan's the best. Yeah. So,
man.
But here I'm gonna throw some teeth on this bad boy. Does that sound good?
Sounds good. He needs some.
We got time for teeth.
He needs some teeth. He's gonna be he's really gonna be menacing. If he's really gonna look the part, the dude needs some teeth.
I only want to do 3D models that have teeth. Okay.
That's my only requirement.
So here, let's come in here, and I'm just gonna split this up here. Boom. See that? That looks nice. I'm gonna do it again here. That looks nice. I'm just laying out this guy's dental future here.
So what exactly are you doing with this? So you're splitting. You're basically subdividing or splitting the face.
Yep. Subdivide face. It doesn't add anything, and then I went ahead and added an extrude to it, and I'm just gonna pull this down. Man.
And that kind of hits on your question. I think that's a good example from a question that was asked earlier, in terms of how many faces you start with. And you do have an option. It's interesting. So when you put in, I know from using xShape too, like when you put in a primitive, whether it's a sphere or a cube, like in this case, which is what you use, you can choose to subdivide it at that point, add more faces, add more edges,
right.
And then kind of start from there. But I think it's important what you're showing here, which is that you can do it on an as needed basis, which is probably the way to go.
Yeah, and I really like using the screen mode when you right click on it and you can select screen, because like when I'm modeling, it keeps me not looking so perfectly uniform on everything. This is not an air conditioner that goes on the side of a building, you know what I mean, with louvers in it. It's like, this is super organic, and it keeps things loose, so to speak. Mm-hmm. I also use screen because it really bothers Andy Barnes that I like it so much. So
you're saying with that triad there, that sort of pops up. So you have different options, right? So it's normal to screen, or kind of more or less normal to the surface that you've selected.
Right, exactly. So if I rotate around, it rotates with me. Do you know what I mean? So, because sometimes I'll be like underneath here at a weird position, and I'll double click to hook onto the whole edge, and then I just want to rotate it, down a little bit. You know what I mean? So it keeps it keeps up with me wherever I am on the screen, if that makes sense.
It does, and it's kind of interesting as well. If you look at the teeth, I mean, so you're making these look like they're starting to look like gator teeth, like truly, right? They're looking sharp. Yeah. What's interesting to me is there are several areas on this model that, again, you 3D printed it, but there are several areas on this model, although it is curvaceous, right? That's what xShape aims to give us curvature continuity, right? Just right off the bat. But like you have like right on the sort of lip area, there's like that sort of blue I see it's like blue outline, like that creased edge, and then the teeth, obviously, like we were saying, are you're getting those super sharp too. So it's neat to see that as you're building this out, you're able to sort of get that effect.
Right, right. And a lot of times it's fluid, you know, it's like I'm learning as I go, and maybe I hate something, but I can always fix it, and it doesn't let me get into a corner where it's, you know, not going to work. You know what I mean? I'll get like an air, hey, you can't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it just sort of tells you right there in the moment.
But yeah, it's real life, man. These are real surfaces that will machine, they'll print, they'll do anything that I need them to do. So it's really powerful stuff. And yeah, let's see where we're at here. Yeah, so we're getting there. You know, there's some things that could be done to make this better, like finite stuff, like could pull this skirt out a little bit, give it more body, more depth. Could add nostrils in this bad boy, you know. Could sock in, do another order geometrical set and bring in spheres for eyeballs if I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
You know? But you're right.
Working with it, that's a good point, because I think sometimes I've seen oftentimes, and this is definitely something that I did, or I was trying to sort of cram in, I guess is the best way to say it, when I got into sub-D modeling. You can use multiple primitives too, like in a lot of ways. You can use them for combining, subtracting to get, you know, a more dynamic shape. Like you said, right. you could insert a sphere, even though you started out with a cube. You could insert a sphere and put those in the eye areas.
Exactly, and I'm notorious for doing everything in one ball of clay. You know,
because you can. I mean, and
you can.
Yeah, a lot of times you can, and yeah, I mean, yeah.
But sometimes you want, like, you know, if you wanted a bumper or something sticking out here, you would want like a little bit more definition. But you can just honestly come in and give it a crease, you know, and that's going to get you kind of what you're after, I guess.
One other thing I wanted to stop you on was symmetry. You know, like you mentioned it. It's hard to see how much that affects anything. You know, it affects like the downstream, you know, if you don't know exactly where someone's going while you're watching them model something. But it has been really interesting to see that, like, just the effect that symmetry has had, like having symmetry mode on, I should say, as you've been going around. So you didn't have to model the teeth twice. You know, the eyes, right? The snarl around the nose area. Just the entire body, like that is saved a crazy amount of time. Like it's pretty cool to see how far it's come.
So how long have we been going? I didn't know. Eddie, did you time us there?
I think, I mean, what was it? It's probably less than 20 minutes.
It's got to be, right? So
and we were talking the whole time, so that's not easy.
Right.
Someone had a question. Let's see. Brad asked, do you have a wall thickness in mind for this part?
You know what? I just modeled, I did a quick sock model of the truck and kind of got the wall thickness from that. And then I just beefed it up a little bit. So yeah, so here's a quick video of like the truck coming apart, throwing the Matoyo calibers on it and seeing where I'm at. And then here's a sock model. Okay.
That is a sock model.
Straight up sock model.
Now that I know what that means.
You know, no one's printing this off and hanging it on the fridge, you know, but that had all the proper numbers. See those posts and size? So I knew what I was working with. And this right here, I'm going to pause it. This is like the payoff pitch for me, where I was just like, yes, you know, like I modeled this, you know, Dragon Beast Gator truck, and then I got the real data of my sock model. And this is how easy it was to scale all surfaces uniformly and then rotate them 90-degree dump, rotate, and then pop it right here on the truck. And what's interesting is when I pop it on the truck like this and I tuck it down in there, I can see, wow, I'm way too narrow, you know, but that's okay. I just can scale it on the X. You see that? And I just scaled it a little bit on the X direction. And then I'm like, wow, okay, cool. Now I can drop my opacity, Sean, and then drop the whole thing down so I can see where the truck is, see what's going on. And this is great because I'm just doing this with my hand and eye and using those skills to balance everything out just right, to get my proportions just right. And this is right here is another eureka moment. I drag the skirt down and cut in where the wheel well. Look, the teeth are cutting into the monster truck tires. So I just lift them up and scale them down a little bit. Like if I would have had to rework this with a bunch of series of lofts and stuff, I probably would have quit my job. Probably, well, all right, kids.
You made a good point with the sock model too. For me, as the guy who made the chassis, like I think you did this before I got that to you, and you were able to because you made this really simplified version of the model. You were really just concerned about the bounding box, right? Like you were saying, and you were able to kind of scale and like you showed here, just model around it, which I think was really smart.
Yeah, because you can see both elements and what you're working with, and
Mm-hmm.
so it made sense in my brain at that moment in time. And
yeah,
so this is more of the finished one that, I had a little bit more time than 10 minutes on, and I just kind of, put the finishing touches a little bit.
I can see its gums really came to life.
Right.
If you look versus like a simplified version, and then you also you highlight, like I think to Brad's question, and I think eventually, right, with 3D printing it, you also hollowed it out, I think, in this iteration too.
Yeah, and this one right here, Justin taught me a trick on this, and you can select the faces and then snap them to a plane, and it'll align those cage points. So everything just automatically gets aligned. You know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, cool. I got a flat truck bed now. And yeah, so that was really, really handy. And I love seeing it in perspective because that, to me, that's more real life, what it's going to
say like. Perspective and the shadows, especially around the eyes and the nose. Yeah, it really comes to life. All right, so here's you actually 3D printing it.
Yep. Yeah, I found it printed best upside down. So
with this one, how many like 3D prints did you hit? Like, did it come out just fine in one try? I mean, this is live design. It's real life. How many?
Yeah. The first time I popped on the model when I got it to print out right, it seated right into these posts right here. These holes, it seated right in, and I was just like, yeah, my calipers still work, and I was proud of that. But yeah, the first time I printed it, I like printed it where the teeth were down. I don't know why I did that. Like, I know better. I've been using 3D printers for almost 20 years. And so it was just one of those moments. But yeah, once I got the printout, sanded it up just a little bit, and then I hit it with the airbrush. I got to get the airbrush gun out, and my son Cashin was there watching me and having a good time. Like, we were throwing some paint on it. Nothing too crazy. It's, I could have done probably scales or something dragon-like, but just kind of getting some color on it just so we could, it's a toy,
Were they trying to, like, I look at this and I think even when it was fully white, it kind of looked like a ghost.
Okay.
It looked menacing enough. I would have, if I were a kid, I probably would have tried to play with it even before you airbrushed
it. Yeah. I had to keep them, in check a little bit, but they were into it, and there it was. So this was cool moment because it's like, the virtual twin. It's like, there it is, and then it's on the screen, and that was a rewarding moment. Is really when the kids got home, the other kids got home off the school bus that day, and got to play with it and check it out. So
yeah. I love the shine on it. Yeah, let's see. So again, we mentioned I made the chassis in SolidWorks. You made the wheels inside of SolidWorks, and then we brought and then we assembled it in SolidWorks, and obviously you made the body in xShape. Which is cool. I mean, I guess anyone with the Maker Edition could do something like this too, which I think is neat.
Oh, for sure. and they can also do a rendering as well. So this is inside SolidWorks Visualize, and I was able to just come in and assign the different, textures and maps here, and it just kicks out this awesome rendering, with the lighting and everything.
I like that you showed this too, because obviously when you're modeling in sub D, the wheels look sick. When you're modeling in sub D, you're just seeing all these patchy faces. Sometimes it's easy to sort of get removed from the reality, right? That you're making a very smooth shape. Somebody had a question. Let's see. Mike asked what kind of airbrush it is. Airbrush that you had in the video we just showed.
Yeah, that's a Iwata airbrush. It's the Eclipse C. It's their workhorse. I have another Iwata that's really nice, but that one, gets it done, and like the amount of paint that it holds in the bucket, and it throws pretty even. But I won't be lying if I tell you that, like, I spend half the time cleaning the airbrush. Like if an airbrush gun would just never gum up ever with paint, they'd be so much fun. But like there's springs involved and everything. Like
there's a lot to clean.
Yeah, it's like you clean gun. Yeah, you clean.
This is one of my favorite parts of YouTube, by the way. I remember I was talking to Jeremy Fielding once, and he was telling me that it's crazy. People will watch a YouTube video of his. Definitely check out his channel, by the way.
Okay.
And they'll see he's like using a tablet, and they'll say, he won't call any like sort of special mention to the tablet or anything like that. He's sort of just using it to look at a drawing or a model or whatever he's doing with it. And he'll have 10 people ask him in the comments, what kind of tablet is that? What kind of tablet are you using? So it's just like a funny part, I think, of YouTube and streaming culture. But another question, we're kind of going back a little bit to the airbrushing and the painting, but Brian asked, when painting, what do you have set up for ventilation?
Yeah, that's a great question.
That's a great question, Brian.
It's right there. See the fan right there behind Cashton? See? It's called the Nantucket Breeze right there. It's what it says on it. It's beautiful.
Just blowing it around.
Yeah, blowing around. And a couple garage doors. Got a couple of garage doors. This is like
keep those open.
This is the like 3D, printing, drill press, toolbox, 3D printer, airbrushing, over there. And, it's a good idea to crack a window,
I am always I tell you this all the time. I'm always so jealous of where you are whenever we talk. I'm just like everyone's trying to have like a fancy backdrop whenever they're doing any streaming stuff, but you have like all these machines, you're like right in your shop. It's so cool.
Yeah. I love being out in the shop, and it's my office now as well. I got a stand-up desk that goes up and down, and I find out that I'm more efficient if I'm standing and moving. It kind of keeps me going, and I don't become like complacent if I were to sit most of the time.
Yeah, you're kinetic. You're moving around. I get it.
It's on wheels, and I got like a whip cord that follows me around. So literally, it's like I like to change up the scenery, So sometimes my desk is over there, sometimes it's over here.
I've noticed that you do kind of pivot around.
I just keep moving it around. It's great.
I love that you showed Visualize too, which, like you said, that's another, just for those of you watching at home. I mean, you can have xShape, and you can use SolidWorks, XDesign, Visualize with the maker offer for $9.99 a month. Like, it's for stuff like this. Like if you want to make a cool project for your kids, or remake a kitchen layout, or whatever it is you're looking to do, make a standing desk. It's awesome. So, and it's neat too to see that you made this in xShape, but you can still use Visualize, just like you can with your SolidWorks models.
Right.
I know you're a huge fan of rendering.
Yeah,
this,
you know what?
this is awesome.
It's always been part of my process, Sean, because you know what? A lot of times there's clients that need approval. There's boardrooms that need to see it and understand the trademarks that are on it, the design. Does it match the direction our company's going in? You know, so
You're saying with Visualize, right?
yeah, with Visualize, you can put it together and present it. You know, it gives you that power really to be able to make anything, and you want to see what it looks like a certain color before you go and make it and paint it and chrome it and nickel plate it and gold plate it. You know, it's done quickly too. Rendering used to be like this process. You know, back in the day, it was like, oh man, Friday I'm gonna set all my textures. I'm gonna set everything up, and I'm gonna render this out with new shaders that I'm gonna use. You know, and it's gonna be like an event. You know, and then
come back the next day.
I'm gonna hit that F12 button, and I'm gonna come back next Monday. Monday, it's gonna be done, and then I'm gonna realize that like the tire's like dipping into the floor, you know, or a light is like in my way. Yeah, so now it's like it's not an event. It's still fun. It's fun to do, but it's quick. It's seamless. It's painless in Visualize. You just do it, and you get the results, and you move on. You know.
Cool. Hey, yeah, before we end this, and this has been great. I definitely learned a lot about your process with all this. Again, we kind of worked in silos, so I didn't get to see a whole ton of this. Everyone just give a +1, by the way, for Jason, just showing us. I think a different way to work, and I think regardless of whether you're a maker or you're having to make shapes like this, curvaceous shapes for industry projects you're using. I hope that you kind of got a different insight, even though we're making a monster truck.
Heck, yeah.
Yeah, just the different ways you can do things. That's what live design's all about. Do you have the monster truck though with you, or is that
the last one we went to was in 2020, and we went to
the shows.
Yeah, we went to Allentown, PA, and we all checked out the Monster Jam there. And it was so much fun, man. My kids love it, you know, and like you got to have the noise canceling headphones because the sound and the fumes, you know, I should see what they use for the fume extraction.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it was so much fun. And then afterwards, this is me and Max, you know, and we're knife fighting at the table here. You know?
Oh my God.
And then this is what I taught him, you know, cross your arms and shut your eyes and hope for the best. But
anytime you're fooling around with butter knives.
Butter knives, yeah, knife fighting at the dinner table at a restaurant. Those are the days, you know. So now that we have a little girl, we don't knife fight at the dinner table anymore. We have to be nice. Somebody
asked Avito, I believe. I'm just checking it out the live chat. Any insight into how you trace the chassis? A single 3D sketch. No, I mean. I suppose you could. I mean, so what I did, and I know haven't really gone too much into chassis at all in this one, but I used the way I try to go about it is I just set up a bunch of different planes. I try to do that as quickly as I can, just kind of get all the angles right and do that prep ahead of time. I don't know if part of it for me is more of a comfort thing. Like once I feel like I have those right, I just have to sort of get the profiles correct. So that's how I did it. I suppose again you could maybe do it as a single 3D sketch, but I like that idea of just kind of compartmentalizing it. It just makes it easier for me to do. But good question. Yeah, maybe we should do a live design on the chassis, and if you future episode we could switch roles, Jason.
Love it. I could ask you a bunch of questions.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Hey, so before we go though, do you have the actual truck that you created, or is that not in your shop today?
Oh yeah, no, I've been showing it here. It's right here.
Oh, I thought you were showing the Bigfoot earlier, like the Bigfoot body.
I took the hood off.
I see.
Yeah, and then this is it, man. A lot of fun.
Have you had to reassemble that like at all? At least once?
No, not really. The great thing about it is it's a Hot Wheels.
I figure your kids might have broken it or something.
There's just two two prongs there that it goes into. And, you know, the 3D print, you know, it's not plastic injection molding exactly. So it did break one of the tabs right there, but it held up pretty good. I mean, it's ready to go in the sandbox this spring for sure. It'll be out there. Yeah.
Yeah. So man, thanks again. I think we're all about wrapped up. I think that's all the questions we had. Again, I hope you guys learned as much as I did. So I think we had a couple different just shout outs, right? That we wanted to make just as we concluded. We'll talk a little bit about the next episode of Live Design in a moment, but you're involved in an interesting project that I've been involved with at least at its beginnings. We're continuously evolving it with LN4. Did you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. At LN4, been working with Michael over there, and there's a new design contest for the folks that Solidworks are putting on. So definitely check that out. It's going to hook on to the hand, and it's the actual arm. So definitely look into that. I get to be a judge with Michael on that, and that's going to be a lot of fun, man, for sure.
Yeah, and I think we had like a slide just to show on that, but it just shows like different qualifications and you know what you get with it. I think if you're in the competition, if you're in the project, you get access to 3D Experience SolidWorks. Is that right? As a student?
Right, as a student. So that's some of the rules. Is you have to be enrolled in a class somewhere, and you do get the 3D Experience Works software while you're doing it. So it's pretty cool, and it's a great way to really impact people that need the help. Okay, because LN4 is non-for-profit. What they did with the hand prosthetic is amazing. Everyone knows that story and how many of them they've made. Right now, Michael set out to do the entire arm. So a lot of people need this, and what a way to use, you know, engineering, design, creative knowledge from our student bodies who are the future of all design and engineering, to let them loose, let them think of a new way, a creative way to solve a problem that will have real impact on all these individuals. So I'm just really excited to be part of it. You know, I'm just like, yeah. But
you're always like, yeah.
Well, no, it's just such a cool project, man.
No,
and what a way to impact people and change lives. You know, it's like that's what it's all about. So
yeah, man. So you can go to, I believe it's solidworks.com/arm4all, right?
That's right. We have a slide somewhere, I think, right?
Yeah, just to display. I mean, even in the chat, if we could send that out, it's solidworks.com. There you go, solidworks.com/arm4all. So this is where you can learn more about it, and you can sign up, right?
That's right, man.
Cool. Well, awesome. We've talked a lot about some of our passions, you know, different interests, areas where they overlap, right? We're both dads. We both like to design things. But getting back to, I guess, the real world as we kind of exit the stream, we're both team members here at SolidWorks. Did you want to tell, you know, a lot of the audience members here are, you know, SolidWorks customers, champions, user group leaders. Did you want to tell them just a bit more about what your kind of day-to-day is on your team?
Yeah. So I'm actually part of the adoption team right now for 3D Experience Works, and it's awesome. Just developing new ways and new strategies to show the new tool sets and just further transfer the adoption with 3D Experience. But it's really cool, man. It's refreshing to be able to work on projects like this one and other ones and really get the word out there. And for me, as the industrial design champion, I just want to show all the other industrial designers what's out there, and to just not have fear for new tools and give them a shot, and you'll be super impressed on what you can create. So yeah, that's what I'm doing, and I absolutely love it.
Hey, we will have to have you back on. Absolutely. This was super fun. You always make me learn, laugh, smile. I love talking to you. And I'm sure everyone else just loves watching you present. And that's what this space is about. I really wanted to do the first episode with you because you just have such an infectious personality and just so much to offer. So thank you so much for coming on, man.
Oh, that's great, Sean. I'd love to come back another time and keep doing what you're doing, man. I think it's great, and it's so cool to be in touch with the community and to be able to field some of these questions, But yeah, I appreciate you.
Absolutely, and we're not done, right? Next, as far as live design goes, we've kicked off officially this year, 2022 of live design here with Jason. Next week, this upcoming Friday, we're going to have Yaya Cater. I mentioned at the top of this, we're transforming live design. So we're looking to have you guys, just like Jason did, come on to this super approachable space, informal, come on for 30 to 40 minutes and show us what you've learned in Solidworks, in Visualize, xShape, simulation, all across the gamut there. So Yaya will be coming on, a SolidWorks champion, to show us some tips and tricks as far as SolidWorks motion, and showing us some cool ways that Yaya has used motion in an entertaining way, but I think also an instructive way. So I am super looking forward to that. And again, kicking off live design in another way, having champions on every other episode. So if you haven't done it yet, subscribe, hit the notification bell. When the stream goes up, make sure to hit the reminder. So it'll be 12 Eastern this upcoming Friday. But for those of you in the live chat, once again, thank you so much for coming. We hope you learned something. And once again, thank you to Jason. Thank you to Andrew for running the stream. To Ian for manning the live chat. And we'll see you soon.